Hey good people, and welcome back to the channel. Today I'll be sharing my thoughts and feelings on episode 3 of Naked and Afraid Last One Standing. And over the course of this video, I won't be giving the traditional recap and review. Instead, I'll be sharing my thoughts on the overall episode, as well as how I felt about the teams for the episode. And I want to remind everyone that I'm checking out these episodes one at a time and providing my review immediately afterwards. So without any further delay, let's jump right in. Now, after having seen episode 3, I can honestly say that I'm very intrigued with how things are going for the show. I am happy to see that some of the cast members are ditching the whole kumbaya vibes and recognizing that this is a challenge with a lot of money on the line. And the more that these cast members participate in Operation Let's Eliminate Jeff, the more their hypocrisy is exposed and how they initially preached about sharing with one another and playing the game with integrity. So I'll definitely admit that I'm fully invested in the outcome of the series, and I can't wait to see who becomes the winner. So let's move on to the teams who I felt were the strongest to the weakest. First, I firmly believe that Waz and Gary were the power team for this episode. Waz seemed to have a knack for finding the hidden advanced survival items, and Gary had a knack for doing whatever it takes to survive the challenge. I was a bit surprised that Waz agreed to trade his fishing hooks with Jeff and Stacy, because he was all for helping the Super Alliance get rid of Jeff. But to see Gary and Waz plotting to manipulate Stacy with hopes that she would volunteer to tap out and take Jeff with her, just exposed Waz for how he's really trying to play the game. Now, I can respect Gary for having the balls to execute the plan to manipulate Stacy, because I think Gary is focused on playing the long game. Now, from a strategic standpoint, I can only respect Waz for wanting to get rid of Jeff, because getting rid of Jeff would mean getting rid of the competition and increasing his chances of winning. But this whole throw a rock and hide your hand that Waz is doing may come back to bite him if Jeff or anyone else that he crosses finds out how ruthless he could be. So as of right now, I firmly believe that Gary and Waz stand the best chance of making it to the 21-day stretch and far beyond. Next, I gotta roll with Dan and Cheney. For this episode, I think that it was smart for Dan to form an alliance with Matt and Wes. Because of this alliance, Dan was able to secure an animal hide, which will be extremely helpful for Cheney in dealing with the cold weather. Dan and Wes also find an axe, and Dan agrees to let Wes keep the axe. So from this episode alone, it's clear that Dan is a very strong competitor, and not to take anything away from Cheney, but it's clear that Dan is carrying the two of them. He is making alliances while understanding the game at hand. So with Cheney having that hide, and Dan kicking things into second gear, I don't see any obstacles outside of illness that will keep Dan and Cheney from making it to the first 21-day stretch and far beyond. Next is Matt. Matt is still a team of one, and his plan to execute Operation Let's Get Rid of Jeff is going off with much success. I thought it was interesting how Matt refused to trade with Jeff, but he had no problem trading firewood with Dan. However, I noticed that Matt's plan for the weaker survivalists to come together to form a super alliance has backfired. For some reason, Matt believed that the other survivalists owed him something, and as a result, he felt betrayed when they wouldn't share their food with him. In my opinion, Matt played a dangerous game in helping his competitors get a good position to make it to the first 21 days, and this episode showed that some of the cast members don't have to depend on him for everything anymore. So while I feel that Matt is a shoo-in to make it to the first 21 days, I don't think that his way of playing the game is the most effective. After all, his whole drive for the past 2 episodes was to make sure that Jeff didn't get too powerful, and in doing so, he allowed Dan and Wes to get stronger. But we shall see what happens with Matt. Next, there's Jeff and Stacy. It's pretty clear that the tension between Jeff and Stacy is reaching a breaking point, and I think one of the reasons for this is because Stacy isn't speaking up for herself in a manner that would get Jeff's attention. I was glad to see Stacy finding an advanced survival item by herself without a map, because it proved that she was a strong survivalist in the competition. However, I was highly disappointed that she entertained Gary and contemplated blackmailing Jeff to essentially make her happy, or else she would tap out of the competition and take Jeff with her. It would suck for Jeff to have to lose $100,000 in that manner, but it's all part of the game. And on Jeff's end, he spent most of the episode burning energy with little to show for it. Now, he did catch some fish to eat, but at this stage of the game, Jeff has no allies, he definitely is not the smartest person in the competition, and he doesn't seem to have the wherewithal to try to make allies. Nevertheless, I don't believe that Stacy would willingly forfeit $100,000 just to stick it to Jeff. I believe that she will make it through the competition with Jeff for these 21 days, and I believe that Jeff will get revenge on anyone who didn't take his offer to trade once he makes it to that point. Next, I have Wes moving up from the bottom last week. As I said in my previous 2 reviews, Wes would have to have some major alliances in order to make it to the first 21-day stretch. I think that this will continue to be the case if Wes is to make it far in the challenge. Unfortunately, I don't have much hope for Wes after the first 21 days. I think that the other survivalists are using him for their own benefit, and so that he doesn't help Jeff in any way. And lastly, there's Sarah and Steven. Just like with the last episode, there really wasn't much footage for them on this episode, which has me worried about the likelihood to go far in the challenge. When there was footage, we get to see them bumping heads over the shelter. I'm not sure if this team is strong enough to make it to the 21-day mark without any help from the other groups. I also feel that should Steven make it to the 21-day mark, then Jeff would stick it to him the first opportunity he got, because Steven made it pretty clear that he and Jeff aren't friends and that they won't have any dealings with each other during the challenge. But this marks the end of my review. I look forward to reviewing episodes 4 and 5, and I look forward to giving a more accurate prediction of who I feel will win it all. But as of right now, I think that Matt has a good position to win it all, but Jeff, Waz, and Dan are right on his tail. But we shall see. If you have any comments about my review or the episode, feel free to leave them below in the comment section, and I'll be sure to reply to everybody. Until next time, stay ready, stay safe, and stay tuned. Peace.